Hey guys, I'm Ricky Havoc from Loose Nuts Off-Road. After about 6 months, I finally trust my FJ Cruiser again. Let me tell you all about it. The last update was installing a winch on the front end of my 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser on my ARB bull bar. And that thing is sat pretty. Let me get into a little background. So with everything else, the last 6 months I have not been able to go off-roading at all, and I have not trusted my FJ Cruiser to go out in the middle of nowhere to try and do this. I'm going to dive into that here in a minute. But first off, let me welcome you to the new garage. This is me and my wife. We finally bought a house out here in Middle Tennessee, and it's been great. We've been moved in for about 2 months now, and we're stoked. We picked it up just after Christmas. Moved in just after Christmas, so we're stoked. And then we also got a puppy, Gus. He's an American Bully mix. He is an amazing dog, super smart, super loyal. You'll probably see him in upcoming off-road videos as soon as I get him a little bit more trained. But he's a rad dog. So let me start with the very first thing that started after I moved out here, because I did not drive the FJ across country. We actually towed it out here. So I started driving around after I got a job, started driving to work, and I got a really, really bad shake in the steering wheel. Like, it would just go, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh shoot, I need to check this out. So I jumped down, I started looking, and my tie rods were shot, just completely shot, my outer tie rods. The ball joint was getting ready to come out, and these are stock tie rods, and these ball joints are 14 years old, so they've never been changed. So I swapped them out. So after we did the winch, actually about the same time I did the winch, I did the outer tie rod ends. And when I noticed when I did the outer tie rod ends that there's still a lot of play on the inner tie rod, but I didn't buy the inner tie rods. I should have done it right then and there, but I didn't. So I drove around, it drove a hell of a lot better. And in the meantime, because this is going to progress, when I went to get it aligned, I actually went to tire discounters. And if you guys don't know, you can get an alignment for $100, and you have that alignment for a year. You can go back as many times as you want, warranty for a year. So it was a good thing I got this. So after the outer tie rods were done, I'm driving along, and I start feeling this real bad shake or shudder under the front seat, you know what I mean, under the driver's seat. So I get out, I chalk the tires, or I come home and I chalk the tires, I put it in park, or I drop it in neutral, and I start turning the tie rod, and I have a lot of slop in that tie rod. So, to my mistake, I took it to somebody who was supposed to be a driveline specialist. It was about $400 to put U-joints in that thing. But also when I did it, because I've had some hard hits off-roading, I had to check the balance of it. And during this whole process, he was telling me, dude, you're wasting your money, don't do this. I was like, it's fine, just go ahead and do it. And I should have took his advice, and that was my first mistake. So, wound up getting the car back with the new U-joints in it, and with a bent drive shaft, slightly bent, slightly bent. And it still drove like poop. So, about a week later, I started looking at YouTube videos on drive shafts, and I had been eyeing Tom Woods forever, but Tacoma Beast actually put out a really awesome video on what it did for his Tacoma, and so I was like, I'm going to kind of run with this, and they gave a great breakdown on how to measure for your drive shaft, your length and your bolt pattern and all that. So I got one. So I installed a Tom Woods drive shaft. And not only did that make that shake go away, but it also, when you drive in your FJ and you come to a hard stop, and I know it's like a majority of us that have FJ Cruisers know about this. You come to a hard stop and it feels like you get rear-ended, you just get like jolted forward. That solved that issue. And it has been phenomenal since, It's the double Carton I'm probably saying it wrong, but double Carton. So it's a double knuckle on the front that attaches to your transfer case to help correct that angle as you lift it. So that Tom Woods drive shaft was about $450, $500. It was absolutely worth the money, and I should have listened to the guy and not have him touch my drive shaft. But lesson learned. So I wasted about $400 in that. So it's embarrassing, but yes, that happened. So Tom Woods drive shaft saved the day. So after that, if you do follow, and I guess I should take the time to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. There's going to be a lot more off-roading content coming out. There's going to be a lot more how-to videos. I get too excited and I forget to videotape it, so there's going to be a lot more content coming out, whether it's going to be off-road related on the FJ. We got a Tacoma, a TRD Pro Tacoma we're going to be working on, and we got a TRD Pro 4Runner we're going to be working on. So stay tuned for those. On top of some Jeeps, my parents, the people in the red and the black Jeep, those are my parents, my mom and dad. We wheel together. They moved out here to Tennessee to hang out with us, with me and my wife. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot of variety. Now, but going back to it, if you guys remember the Big Bear video, that TRD Pro 4Runner, the one that snapped a CV, he wasn't the only one that snapped a CV. I also snapped a CV, and I did not get any video of us replacing the CV. So I kind of limped home after we replaced it, and then I went to Napa and I swapped it out for a Napa, their brand, and it bound up a lot. Anything at full droop, it bound up. But that is a catch-22, and we'll get to that part too. So the other CV axle, the stock Toyota one, was going bad. So I was like, you know what? I got to stop this binding. I got to make sure my CVs are good. So I actually went with the CVJ remanned Toyota high-angle CV axles. That's a lot at one time, I know, but they work wonders. But I remember how I said it was a catch-22, and it's kind of like a segue in the next part, I guess, is it was also my lift that was causing a lot of binding. And there's not a lot that talks about this on the forums. I found like one post and it really stuck in my head. So I was running a Toytech 3-inch lift on the front. So it was their Toytech branded, I bought Coils on a Bilstein 5100. And that's like a 2.5-inch lift. And in order to get the full 3-inch lift from the drop down, you put in a 1/2-inch spacer plate on the top, which we all know spacer plates are no good. And then on the driver's side, on top of that 1/2-inch, I put a plate in there. It was like a 1/4-inch plate or 1/8-inch plate for driver's side lean. I would have my car completely jacked up in the air and my tires would not spin freely. So that's an issue. After I saw that post, I kept it in my mind, and since I put the ARB bumper on the front, this is all going to kind of coincide with each other. Since I put the ARB bumper on the front, I got some sag. I put the winch on, and I got a lot of sag in the front. So I wanted to remedy this. So what I wound up doing is I ordered some Dobinson heavy coils. And everything I'm talking about, I'll link in the description below, or I'll put pictures in the video. You'll see it and be able to look at it and whatever you want. So I talked to Apex Overland or Apex Off-Road. Super nice people. Super good customer service. And they pointed me in the right direction for the Dobinson heavy coils. So I got the coils and I just let them sit. I didn't have a coil compressor, and I don't know anybody out here yet with a coil compressor that is able to compress a heavy coil. We went to go install the new coils because I did my brakes. My rear brakes were shot real bad after the snow that was out here. They just went. As I swapped my brakes, I had my front end apart, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and swap these coils over. So I went to go try it, and at the same time we did the brakes and we're doing the coils, I actually did my inner tie rods at the same time. So now I'm running moog inner and outer tie rods, and the reason I went with moog is because they're greasable, and so when you start squeaking, you can take care of the squeaking. Anyway, we got the old, we bought a little handheld compressor or whatever, the one with the bolt on the sides that compress your coils. We bought that from AutoZone. So we got the old coil off, and we brought the Dobinson out. The coil compressor itself would not fit into the Dobinson because of how tightly wound it is. It's a relatively longer coil, but it has more coil because of how tightly wound it is. It helps support the weight. I didn't get any video of the install. So we got kind of sketchy with it. We took a grinder blade and we ground down until we were able to get it inside the coils. So we're like, cool, we finally got it inside the coils, we compressed it, we got the shock in there, and we put the shock together and it would not come out of the coil. Rule of thumb, you make sure you have an industrial coil compressor when you're pushing a heavy coil. So we had to take it back apart, put the Bilstein iLock coil back together, put it back on the car. So I got to thinking, I was like, well, you know, I might as well just sell the set. It's easier to sell the set, shock and coil over pre-assembled than it is to just sell the coils. So that's what I did. I sold those and I wound up getting the Dobinson twin tube shocks, just their baseline shocks in black. I really wanted to go with the IMS series, either the single or the one with the remote reservoir, but it was a little out of budget and I wanted to do something now instead of wait. And we'd waiting a long time with those coils. Like I said, they'd probably had them like 3 or 4 months. So I finally took them somewhere and had them compress the coil, which the guy fought, he told me, with an industrial coil compressor. And now it is a night and day difference with the way it rides. I mean, it's stiffer, don't get me wrong, but it's a night and day difference between stance, between the ride, and everything's good. Now, the only other issue I'm fighting right now, and I'm actually in the process as we're making this video, like working on it. So, you know how you get the codes when your dashboard lights up? And a lot of the time it's the O2 sensor or it's a catalytic converter going out. Well, this time for me, when I plugged it in, and I've plugged it in several times because it's an intermittent thing, it's a mass airflow sensor code. It's the P101 code. When I originally got the code, I'm going to buy a new mass airflow sensor. So I did. I found a Denso one on Amazon for $50. So I had it shipped here, I put it in, cleared the codes, and then they came back on in about a week. I'm like, man, what's going on? And this has been going on for like 2 or 3 months now. So going back and forth, trying to figure it out, And my dad actually was like, well, why don't you just clean the old one and try that? What I did is I went to AutoZone this morning and I got mass airflow sensor cleaner and I got an electronic component cleaner to clean the connections because we're thinking that the wire harness is bad. As I went to pull out the new one, I noticed I had play in it. Like you can turn it side to side even though it had the 2 bolts, and I was like, I cranked that down pretty good. I remember. So I called my old man and he's like, well, is the gasket on there? So I looked. Sure as hell the gasket's on there. But, and you'll see it kind of in the side-by-side video. I know it's real hard to see, but well, I'm sorry for that interruption. The little puppy started barking, and we actually have deer that run around now outside of our house. Oh! And there goes a third. Stop it. Go get it. I'm sorry. If you look at the difference in the gaskets between the Denso one and the Toyota one, Denso does make the Toyota factory one, but the gaskets are different. So the gasket wasn't sealing all the way. So what we're thinking is that gasket is causing it moves as you're driving every once in a while, and then that's what's causing the code to appear. So I cleaned them. They're actually drying right now. After I'm done shooting, I'm going to go pop this in, and I'll give you an update to let you know how that goes. But yeah, I mean, it's just been one thing after another with trying to get this FJ taken care of, just to make it comfortable driving to work, let alone trying to go off-road, you know what I mean? Because I haven't off-roaded since I moved out here, since July of last year, you know, the heart of COVID. It was like 115 degrees out in the desert, my last desert trip, and we stayed overnight and left. So extremely anxious to get back on the trail. And there's a bunch of good trails out here. And I've met a lot of really cool people. I've hosted a couple off-road events, and I'm getting ready to host a lot more. I got a place where I can Tenfold Pizza is going to let me host events there monthly. Really great people, really good food. But anyway, yeah, so it's just been a fight with this, with these little problems. You know, it's between a money thing and a time thing, and just everything kind of colliding together at once. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. If any of this helps somebody, I hope it does. But yeah, once again, thank you for hanging out. I will let you guys know if that code goes away. Once again, hit the like, hit the subscribe. There's going to be a lot more off-roading videos coming up. There's going to be a lot more vehicles in the garage, and we can actually fit them in this garage, which is amazing. Yeah, thank you guys. I'm Ricky Havoc, Loose Nuts Off-Road. Have a good one.